It was very upsetting being in the hospital, not being able to move for a few days, not knowing why I could not move, knowing I was engaged and my wedding was less than a year away. It was like 10 months away. This is not what anybody, bride, groom, whatever, a picture that happily ever after to be. So it was very frustrating to me to have that happen, and it was scary. There were times in the rehabilitation hospital, I was scared I would never be able to go back home again. But
Mm.
I did work really hard and did go home. Probably went home a little earlier than I should have, but they were happy to get rid of me, and I wanted to go home. I lost the ability to do a lot of things, and I was frustrated because a month earlier I was able to walk from one side of town to the other, and now I can't even get out of my bed without assistance. So I use a lot of sentence enhancers.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become the best possible versions of themselves and to strive for overall health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all of the healths, without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who've been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time somebody shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
Well, besides looking at my ID card, which does confirm my identity to myself, my name is Chris Mitchell. I am originally from the St. Louis metropolitan area. I moved to California shortly after I started college, fell in love there, and then moved back to Missouri to help take care of my parents. And I am a person with multiple disabilities. I'm visually impaired. I'm 22 in my left eye, 23 in my right eye. I'm also physically disabled. I survived an incomplete spinal cord injury while undergoing an ascending to descending aortic bypass surgery while I was engaged. And I am also neurodiverse. As we talked before we began this interview, I have ADHD. So this energy you're seeing, folks, is natural. There's no caffeine involved in this thing, and no one was harmed in making this interview possible today. So yeah, so and I know all of this to be true about myself because I live with me. I had no choice my entire life, so I've gotten to know me really, really well.
That's good. That's good because a lot of people don't know themselves,
Yes,
despite living with themselves their whole lives. So,
and I'm constantly exploring and learning more about myself. I find that very fascinating to do, to spend a lot of time in me time, self care, self reflection, to better understand why I tick and why I do the things that I do.
nice. So, what do you do? What are the things that you do?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
things that I do. There's many things that I do. I well, I like to say primarily, although it's not my main gig, but it's one of the most important things to me is I do take care of my wife. She has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, so
Mm.
that is a very big part of my life, and I love doing that because she took care of me when I had my incomplete spinal cord injury nearly 20 years ago when we were engaged. So it's fair, and I love her, and so I do it for her. I'm also a self-published author. I've written 3 books. One of them is called The Cheeseball Clan. Who's Your Bully? It's like a little mystery for middle school age kids. About 3 kids who are really good friends. They start out in school, middle school, and they have to determine who the bully is before it destroys the friendship. I wrote a
Mm.
book called It Doesn't Define Me: How I Rebuilt My Life After an Ischemic Stroke to My Spinal Cord. And that is about my incomplete spinal cord injury and and my journey to rebuild and get my life back after losing the ability to run, walk, or even stand. And my most recent book, which depending on when this drops, will be released June 18th, called Success Starts with Self-Confidence: 10 Steps to Discover, Develop, and Grow Your Confidence for the Neurodivergent and everybody else. And it's a really cool book. It talks about my 30 plus years journey of just discovering, developing, and growing my self confidence because I want other people who face challenges not to take 30 years to develop self confidence like I wasted in my life. So it's a
Mm,
really fun book. I'm also a certified confidence life coach serving the neurodivergent community, as well as I am an award winning virtual presenter. And I
I
do
love it.
host podcasts and have a growing YouTube channel.
Nice. I love that. If it's okay with you, I would like to dive a little more into your, did you call it a partial spinal cord injury?
Incomplete spinal cord injury, but
Incomplete,
yes, and I do
incomplete.
not
Okay.
mind. I wrote a book about it, so I'm
Yeah.
literally an open book about it.
Yeah, I'm I'm really interested, can you explain what that means, how it happened, all the
I would
how
do
it
my very
affected
best,
you? Yeah.
because I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV. I was born, besides my disabilities, I was born with CRS, congenital rubella syndrome. And that's not all that common today, but it was pretty common in the 1960s when I was born. And one of the things that came with it was a constricted aorta. And I've had many surgeries on my heart, starting at pretty much at birth. And my last one was when I was in third grade at the age of 8. Then, when I was in my mid 30s, my doctor said, that constricted aorta, the blood's not flowing that well. And the work we've done on it, we got to do something better so your blood flow would be better. So I went underneath the knife for an ascending to descending aortic bypass, which I'm not a doctor, but it basically means they're putting in a new little rubber tube. They showed it to me. It looks like a vacuum hose. It's really cool
Mm,
to help the blood flow around the constricted aorta. Now, sometime between the time I climbed onto the gurney and I woke up in the CVICU. I survived an incomplete spinal cord injury. It's called an ischemic stroke to my spinal cord. Called a stroke because lay people think it's a stroke, but medically it is a incomplete spinal cord injury, and it robbed me of my ability to run, walk, or even stand. I did not witness it or experience when it happened because I was knocked out with anesthetic.
mhm,
But when I woke up in the CVICU, they like you to stand up so you don't get pneumonia. They want you to move it a little bit because you've been laying still for a while. So they had me try to stand up, and I slid my legs off the right side of the bed, put them on the floor, started to stand. But instead of standing, I fell onto the hard linoleum floor. The
mm,
nurses helped me back up onto the gurney, and we all just thought, well, he's really tired and weak and all. So they tried it a couple of hours later. Nurses came in and said, we would like you to stand. I said, I would like to hold on to something just in case if I fall again. They brought me an IV pole that had 3 wheels at the bottom. I thought, that's not going to help. That's going to move. But I did not argue with them. I did what I was told. This time I fell again, even harder and faster than the first time. They scurried off the nurse's station and they made phone calls and all. And a few days later, after an MRI, it was determined I had a incomplete spinal cord injury in my thoracic part of my spine. And like I said, it robbed me of my ability to run, walk, or even stand initially, and I could not even feed myself because I had so much spasticity in my hands
mm,
that I had to have help with that. My fiance stayed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in my hospital room in an uncomfortable chair to take care of me for 2 weeks before I elected to go to a rehabilitation hospital for 3 weeks to work on rehab, and then I went home in a wheelchair and did outpatient therapy for about 6 months. Then my insurance company said, you're not progressing enough. We're not going to pay for this anymore. Translation, we're giving up on you. Well, did
mm,
not give up on myself. 5 years later, from doing stuff in my apartment, which I don't recommend doing because I could have fallen and gotten hurt, putting my hands on the wall in the hallway because we had a narrow hallway, and use that like balance beams to teach myself how to walk. And eventually, I led to that led to my ability to walk from the car into Target. My first time I taken a step um, since the injury. And we been going to Target for a while. And they have those really cool scooters, and I wanted to ride one of those. But there's no point in my wife bringing me in the wheelchair, taking the wheelchair out to the car. We do our shopping. She brings the wheelchair back, and I get out, and then we go back to the car. So we went to the parking lot, and we were going to do some shopping. there was a big red Target cart. Their Target loves this story. They get free ads for this. They ought to give me something.
Nice.
They should. Anyway, so I said, Kimberly, that's her name. Bring that red cart over here. I grabbed onto the front of it. It was not easy. It was not pretty, but I walked from the car in our disabled parking spot into the store. And that gave me the confidence to get my first walker. And now I have a rollator. So I do walk with the use of a mobility aid, shorter distances. Longer distances, like when I'm in Target, I do need to use a scooter because I'm not going to make it through that store. Those stores are big.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we end up spending too much when we go to Target for toilet paper.
I'm pretty good at. I go in there. I know what I want. I want to get out.
Yeah.
No,
I can't do that.
I don't. I can. Oh man, boy, can I do that? That's why I go in there, not my wife. Because she always brings out the stuff. I get a little upset about it, but then, oh, you got me something. Oh, okay.
I guess it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. She's always thinking of me.
So I know now that we know how this affected you physically, how would you say this affected you mentally?
It was very upsetting. Being in the hospital, not being able to move for a few days, not knowing why I could not move, knowing I was engaged and my wedding was less than a year away. It was like 10 months away. This is not what anybody, bride, groom, whatever, a picture that happily ever after to be. So it was very frustrating to me to have that happen. And it was scary. There were times in the rehabilitation hospital, I was scared I would never be able to go back home again. But I did work really hard and did go home. Probably went home a little earlier than I should have, but they were happy to get rid of me, and I wanted to go home. I lost the ability to do a lot of things, and I was frustrated because a month earlier, I was able to walk from one side of town to the other, and now I can't even, get out of my bed without assistance. So I use a lot of sentence enhancers, a lot of profanity. And if you're a SpongeBob fan, you know what a sentence enhancer is. And they were happy when I told them, I think I'd like to go home this coming Friday. And they said, you can go home today. I said, no, Friday's fine. So they were happy to see me go. And when I got home, people who knew me before the injury, this was during the summer, I went back to the college where my fiance worked, and some people who knew me as a friend as well. They had these looks of shock on their face and pity, and that really bothered me a lot. Because nobody had told them what, like you did at the beginning of the school year, what I did during my summer vacation. Nobody told them, well, I decided to have an incomplete spinal cord injury and I decided to get a wheelchair. So I had a lot of people who gave me those kind of looks. I had bus drivers because I don't drive. I've never been able to drive. I'm visually impaired. And even if I could drive, I'm the definition of road rage. With my ADHD, I believe every car should have a megaphone so you can tell the guy in front of them how much of a jerk they are. And I believe the second finger in your hand is not used enough at times in traffic. My wife does disagree with that. She said, don't do that. He's bigger than you. So a lot of people were saying these things, give me these kind of looks of pity and sympathy, and I hated that. So one night I was sitting in my wheelchair, or next to my wheelchair, I should say, and I was feeling really down about all of this. And I looked at it and I pointed at it and I said, this does not define who I am. It doesn't define me. That's the name, that where the name of the book came from. And that became my mantra, my motto, that my physical disability was not going to define me. And I became very focused in on doing everything I could, including starting and running a successful eBay business where I was interviewed by Entrepreneur Magazine. So when people describe me, they would describe all the stuff I was doing. At that time, I was selling on eBay. I'm selling on eBay. He's engaged, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted people to say at the very end of the list, oh, and he's physically disabled, if they mentioned that at all. And that was what was going through my mind. And that really helped me get through it. Besides my faith as a man of faith, as a Christian, that that got me through it too. But having that mindset that this disability or any disability does not define me, or nor does any disability define anybody who's watching or listening to this podcast. You can define yourself and don't let any. I mean, some people in our community, the disabled community, do you say the disability defines who they are? And there's some truth to that. As long as it does not define you negatively, it's a good way to be defined by something. But you don't want to let
Mhm.
anything negatively define you or let anyone else negatively define you.
Yes. I love that. Um, I work with mainly people who have a history of disordered eating, and so the, you know, accepting themselves in whatever body size they are, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And saying that their body does not define them. So I totally relate to that. Um, was there like a specific shift in your mind that caused you to look at the wheelchair and say, this does not define me?
I don't know if it's a shift in my mind, but I was just tired of people who knew me before my injury, who looked at me differently or kind of stepped back a little bit from the friendship and I felt some friendships and relationships changed a little bit because I was physically disabled. A person
Mhm.
who used to skateboard around the college campus, skateboard through the hallways of the college campus, and was bouncing off the walls with energy, now sitting in a wheelchair, not that physically active. So I know it had to be a shock to people, but just not wanting people to have pity for me made me decide doesn't define me. I was not going to let that define me or other people define what I can do with my life.
I love it. And so do you now work with like what kind of people do you work with? Like what kind of people do you coach?
I work with people who are typically neurodivergent. That would be people with ADHD,
Hmm.
and autism spectrum. Because I'm going to be screened in the next few weeks to see if I have autism. My doctor suspects it. I do too. But neurodiverse does also include other disabilities like bipolar or diagnosis, as I should say, whatever you want to call them. Bipolar, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, Tourette's, but primarily I like to focus in on ADHD and autism because one, I am in those communities. At least I know definitely I'm in the ADHD community. We're looking into the autism community. I also have a great nephew that has autism, and I'm very interested in understanding more about autism
Hmm.
and also because I have that interest and personal experience, I'm going to connect better with people who are on the spectrum or I have ADHD or have both. That's the people I would like to work with because I'm going to understand their struggles better than I would understand somebody who has Tourette's because I don't have Tourette's. So
Hmm.
I just find that to be uh, more of an authentic connection when you work for somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So now a big question. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Okay, fun. I love reading. I'm always reading. I love listening to music. In fact, I don't know if this is a video podcast or not, but I have headphones on and I have it
Hmm.
plugged into my speaker system here in the office to my computer. And what you all cannot hear is I have music going through my ears right now while I'm doing this interview. You don't hear it. No one else hears it. But I'm listening to some contemporary Christian music. I love watching 80s TV shows and movies. I'm a big fan of the 1980s. Currently, I'm binge watching, and I'm through season 10 of 12 of The Big Bang Theory. Loving that show right now. So, and I do enjoy watching baseball and all. And I like to barbecue. Those are some of the things I do love to
Mm,
do and be there for my wife. I mean, it sounds not that much fun because she has cancer and cancer is not fun. But anytime that my wife and I are doing something together, just us, it's just a wonderful time for me. And I enjoy doing
yeah,
that.
I love that. And I ask that because I think fun is super important
Oh,
in
yeah.
our lives. Definitely. I'm currently addicted to roller coasters.
Oh, I can't do those anymore. I loved those when I was younger, but now with my incomplete spinal cord injury, well, theme parks are afraid of me getting on a roller coaster, and I was told you should not be in a roller coaster, and I thought I don't know
Mm,
why. So I watched some videos, and I watched a couple of them, camera mounted in the front. Okay, I don't need to be in a roller coaster because it makes me really dizzy now. But yeah, I did love
Yeah.
them when I was younger.
Yeah, especially now, like they're so, at least where I go, they're so extreme. Like even my favorite ride, I can't go on more than twice in a row because I'll be like, ooh, can't do that. It's just so
Yeah.
extreme.
Yeah.
Um,
And don't go on it after lunch, right?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't want
don't
to
eat
leave your
much
lunch
when
on
I
it.
go.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Good move.
Yeah, but I have been going a lot more lately because my son, who's almost 7, he
Uh-huh.
just reached the next height up, so we added like 6 more roller coasters to
Uh-huh.
the ones he can go on, and so we've been going a lot. We have a pass, but
Oh,
anyway,
cool.
that's been my fun lately.
That's your funny roller coasters. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Life can be a roller coaster.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's an understatement.
Yes. It's full of challenges and we all have to face them. One of the shows I do like watching occasionally, especially the earlier episodes, is The Simpsons, and the comic book guy had a great way of describing life. Life is like the Star Wars movies. Some of it's great and some of it really stinks, but you got to sit through the whole thing.
It's true. Are you a Star Wars fan?
My wife is. I'm not. My problem with Star Wars, yeah, I'm probably gonna get hate mail on it. It has a lot of action in it, and because I'm visually impaired, it's hard for me to keep up with all that visual
Mm,
action. So
gotcha.
I tease my wife, I bet it's not hard to write a Star Wars script. There's only 50 words in the entire movie. The rest of it is George Lucas showing off his special effects skills.
Yeah.
And we just, I don't know when this is dropping, like I said, but we just had the May the 4th be with you with all the Star Wars movies on TBS. And I told her, go watch those. I'll be here in the office. Let me know when you're done.
Oh, that's
May the 4th
amazing.
be with you, dear.
May
I'm
the
going to be in
fourth be
here.
with you. Well, I do have one more question for
Sure.
you, and I ask at the end of every episode, and that is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a good question. I love that question. With one piece of advice,
Mhm.
that I can give to the world. Now, there's a lot of things I've learned in my life. Like, if you point your finger like this at the college dean, they think of it as a threatening action. You get expelled from college. That actually happened to me.
Oh
I'm
no.
I'm making a point and said, well, he said this, and she thought it was a threatening action. I got expelled from college.
Oh no.
So don't do that. But my one bit of advice that I would give to everybody is basically this: you are an amazing person, and don't let anyone tell you any differently. There's a lot of people out there, especially on social media, who hide behind a screen and want to tear you down because you say something or believe a certain way because the politics are different than yours, whatever. Don't listen to those people. You're an amazing person, because when you listen to those people, you're giving them that power to control your life. You're giving them that power to tell you what you're worth and your value, and you can't do that. The only person who can define who you are and what you can be is you. And never let anyone else have that power or ability over you, because that is the most powerful power you have in your possession. The ability to define who you are and what you can do with your life. Don't ever give that away.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Mitchell signing off. Until next time. Balaka.